A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
The way that I ran to record this video was so fast. Now, I normally don't make videos. I don't post on TikTok. But this was the one. I was like, girl, this is your time. If there's ever a time, this is the time you have to tell your story. I have had paranormal stuff happen to me my whole life. Definitely more so as I've gotten older. I've had astral projection, what I would consider astral projection, horrible sleep paralysis, crazy dreams, physical encounters with things, for as long as I can remember, up till, currently. The one story that I want to talk about is when I was 18, I was a park aide at Donner Memorial State Park. Now, most of you know the Donner Party, or if you don't, you know, they're pretty researchable. And I worked there as a park aide when I turned 18 during the winter time. Now, my dad was also a ranger there at one point prior to me working there. And it's been kind of in my life, and I grew up there, and it's what the town is known for. So one day when I was working in this museum, I was by myself. I worked by myself a lot, especially during in the winter time. It was very slow. It was snowing outside. I was getting ready to close up, and from the back museum portion, I heard what I can only describe as children giggling. Now, I thought it was weird, but I had been going to the back and then kind of coming back up to the front throughout the day, and I was like, well, maybe somebody came in that I didn't see. It was time for me to close up anyway, so I made my way into the museum to go lock the exit doors in the back and just check and make sure that nobody was in there. As soon as I walked in, the giggling stopped. And in my head, I'm kind of like, well, maybe I'm just freaking myself out. Maybe there wasn't anything, like, it's fine. So I'm making my way through the displays. It's kind of like shaped, it's a big concrete box, no windows. Already creepy in itself. It was built in like the 60s. This thing is old. And it's kind of the displays are set up in like a horseshoe shape. So you walk in and then it rounds and then you kind of make your way back out. I'm heading down to lock up the back exit towards the back wall. And as I'm walking, from over my shoulder, one of the displays goes off. Now they're the big you push the button on the wall and it makes the guy talk. And now in my brain, I'm like, that's weird. It's weird. It's weird. But like, it's old, the button's broke, like, it's fine. I'm like talking myself out of it. I'm like, it's okay, it's fine, everything's fine. Like, don't worry about it, just like lock the door and get the hell out of there. So I kind of write it off. I mean, clue number 2 that I probably shouldn't have been in there, right? But I just keep going. So I go to the exit door, lock the exit door, I'm making my way around the U, and on the back wall, there is this massive, like, life-size display of a covered wagon. And then there's a mother and child, like, up at the top, and then there's, like, 2 men down below. Life-size wax mannequins. Creepy. Anyway, I'm walking around this corner, and I'm going around the U. And what I can only describe as like a full body, like chill, like, kind of crawls up my spine. I don't know what possesses me, but I decide to turn around and check it out. So I look over my shoulder. The mannequins that have always been facing left for years, since they put them in, they've always faced left, are now facing right. They are facing the opposite direction, and they are staring at me in my eyeballs. They are from this to this, and now looking directly at me. The way that I panicked, like, my heart, like, I am like feeling like I'm reliving the whole thing again. Like, the panic, I sprinted out of there so fast. She is not a runner. She is not a track star, but I booked it. I booked it so fast, and I ran and I hid behind a table in the back. Like, there's a back office. I hid under the desk. I called the ranger. I had a ranger come and escort me out of the building because I was so terrified. I was so terrified. I cannot convey through the screen how afraid I was. And he comes over, he has to talk me off the ledge. He's like trying to calm me down. And he's telling me, don't worry, like, it does happen to some of us. They like to mess with us sometimes. It's okay. Excuse me, sir? They like to mess with us? Like, Like, shouldn't have somebody told me prior to being hired? Shouldn't have been written in my contract? Like, the spirits, the lingering spirits of the Donner Party, like, to mess with the staff. No biggie, it's fine. Anyway, I decided to go home, and I decided to talk to my dad about it, because my dad, of all people, who has worked there for years, you'd think he would tell his daughter that there were ghosts and spirits or whatever, a presence, where she was working, because he hadn't told me before. But anyway, I decided to go tell him. I think he's gonna laugh at me, because I'm a dramatic person, but I think he's gonna laugh at me and brush it off or whatever. He's very straight-laced. He's not normally a spiritual or paranormal person. Oh no, he says, oh yeah, that's happened a couple times. It's kind of creepy. We just don't like to talk about it. I would have liked to talk about sir, would have liked to talk about it before I got hired, before I was put in that situation. Anyway, I digress. So, I do want to preface in saying, like, I have the utmost empathy for the Donner Party, that situation, like, the whole thing. And I'm not trying to make light of that situation whatsoever. But I will say that it was traumatizing, and it has stuck with me. It stuck with me forever. I still think about it to this day. I still continue to have stuff happen. We had stuff happen there because I also worked there for 3 years, so I just continued to work there. So honestly, that's on me. But like, we had stuff like there was a false door that housed a projector screen for a video that we shot that would just pop open, just squeak, like it would just pop open. The projector would just start playing. The giggles came back. You know, so anyway, it was pretty crazy, and yeah, anyway, I just felt like, you know, people should know about that, and if you've watched this 7-minute long video, this is why I don't make videos. I can't stop talking, the ADHD, anyway, but yeah, that's my story. Okay, bye.
Me and my sister and my mom, we used to stay in this house that sat right in front of a graveyard. Me and my sister's bedroom was located in the back of the house right beside the graveyard. And we used to always have a pile of leaves in our backyard because we had trees in our backyard. And y'all know how when y'all walk on leaves, it makes that sound. It sounds like you're walking on leaves. But anyways, on a Wednesday around 11 o'clock at night when everybody else was asleep, I really didn't go to sleep because I'd be up on social media. But I kept hearing like leaves rustling in the backyard, like somebody was walking on them. And you can hear the walk start off far and then get close to our back window because of the leaves. And every time that walk got close to our back window, it would be a little tiny tap on our window. And like I said, I'm the only one that's up at this point. But me, I'm just thinking it's the wind or something. So I just went back to scrolling on my social media. But I kept hearing the walk get far and then get near, get far and then get near. And it was like a walk that was slow. And every time the walk got back near to our window, the knocks on our window got louder. So I decided to get up and look out the window, but there's nobody there. And all of a sudden the walk just stopped. And for some reason, that only happened every Wednesday around 11. So one Wednesday, my sister decided to stay up with me because she wanted to see for herself because she thought I was just paranoid that we moved beside the graveyard. So she stayed up with me until 11 o'clock and it happened again. We would hear somebody walking back and forth from our bedroom window and knocking on our bedroom window. My sister decided that we should tell our mom, and we did, but my mom took it as somebody was trying to break in our house, so she called the police. And the police searched the backyard but couldn't find nobody. But of course, me and my sister knew that they wasn't finna find nobody. But fast forward, me and my sister used to play around and we gave each other nicknames. My nickname was Sarah. I forgot her nickname. But we was the only people who knew our nicknames that we gave each other. But anyways, on a Wednesday, my sister, she had went to church, and I usually go, but for some reason I didn't go that time. So that left me in the house alone because my mom was at work. And I already know what happens on Wednesdays, so I didn't even go to our bedroom. I sat right in the living room until everybody came home. But as I was sitting in the living room, I kept hearing this tiny knock on the front door. And I already had a clue of what was going on, so I didn't even go to the front door. But as I just sat and waited for the knock to stop, it actually got louder. So I just turned on a movie and started watching a movie until my sister came home. She was about to come home, and I think in about an hour anyways. Then all of a sudden, an unknown number had called my phone. And I answered it, and they just kept saying, Sarah, Sarah. You know, the nickname my sister gave me. So at this point, I thought it was my sister playing around. And I said my sister's name. I said, is this you? Like, I got excited. But after I said that, they hung up. So it was about time for my sister to come home. And when she walked through the door, and I'm like, why is you playing on my phone and you at church? She was so confused about what I was talking about. So I said, somebody had called my phone, and they was like, Sarah, Sarah, and only me and you know our nicknames. She was like, my phone is dead. My phone went dead like a few minutes after I left to go to church. So I thought she was playing. So I took her phone and I tried to turn it on, but it was actually dead. Baby, I was so scared. We moved out the house like a month later, but for real, that experience was scary.
This is my third attempt at trying to make this video, and either it gets deleted or like the sound doesn't work, like weird glitches are happening. I don't know why. So I'm gonna try this again. So when I moved to Indiana with my family, I was about 8 years old. We moved into a house in a town called Sweetser. And prior to this, like I didn't know that, like, I mean, I believe in ghosts now, but like at the time I didn't think ghosts were real. I thought it was just stuff in movies. Very religious family. So I was always told when you die, you go to heaven or hell, and that's it. So we moved to this house, and it started off with like, I would maybe hear somebody walking around upstairs where me and my brother's rooms were. I would see like shadows moving on the wall. As I got older, I always heard a child crying in this one specific corner of my bedroom, like on the opposite side of where my bed was at. Every night I would hear a child crying. I would turn my music up all the way up as loud as it would go because I knew I was going to hear it, and it always scared me. But I think two of the more disturbing things that happened at this house actually happened to my little brother, and then after that, my dad. It was a lot more intense than anything I had experienced in terms of that sort of thing. So one night I was staying the night with my grandparents. They lived in the same town, just like on the other side of town. And my parents knew that I was going, like it had already been planned that I was going to stay with them that weekend, and my brother was going to stay at home because he was younger than me. And we just, siblings sometimes need space from each other, I guess. So my parents are in the room, which is on the ground floor of the house on the opposite side of where the staircase was that led up to me and my brother's room. And so they're in their bedroom, they're watching TV, whatever. They hear my brother start yelling from upstairs. And they're, wondering maybe he's playing, is he being really loud? What's going on? So he busts into my parents' bedroom, and he's crying, he's yelling, he's like really upset. And he says, Katie won't stop trying to scare me. Can you please tell her to leave me alone? Now my parents know that I'm not home. So they kind of look at each other, and they look at my brother, and they're like, what do you mean Katie's trying to scare you? Like, what do you mean by that? Because they didn't want to tell him I wasn't home because they wanted to hear what he had to say first, so they didn't freak him out. And he said, Katie keeps coming into the hallway with her blanket over her head, and she keeps staring at me. And every time I tell her to stop, she just keeps staring. And then she'll walk back into her bedroom, she'll come back out, and she'll just keep staring. And this freaked my parents out because up until this point, I was the one that spoke up about it the most. Sometimes my brother would say things, but we were always told it was our imagination, that we were seeing things, hearing things, whatever. So this did freak him out, and my dad told me about it when I came home, and of course I was like, why would you tell me that? I sleep in that room. So then fast forward, keep in mind that my brother saw my face, me. So fast forward to a few years from now, we're about to move out of this house. I think this was in like maybe the last month that we lived there that this happened. So my brother was sleeping in my room with me because he always said he was terrified of stuff in his closet. He heard things in his closet, which that's creepy enough as it is. So he would sleep in my room sometimes. And we're like 12, I'm 12 and he's like 9 at this point, I think. So my dad is downstairs. We're upstairs asleep. My mom is at work. My dad's sitting at the computer in the living room, and he feels like a tap on his shoulder, and he hears my voice say, "Hey, Dad." And he turns around. He's like, "Yeah, what's up?" Didn't think anything of it. And he turns around. There's nothing there. Immediately, the same second that he turns around and acknowledges what he thought was me, my dogs, I had 2 big dogs at the time, they freak out. They start barking. The fur on their spine is standing up about this much. They take off to one side of the room. They both look up at the ceiling, and then my dad said it was the freakiest thing, perfectly in sync. Their heads start moving. They see something, and then they go to the other wall and they stare, and their heads are moving in sync. And then my door slams shut upstairs. So my dad books it up the stairs, see what's going on. Like, he's freaked out. He goes upstairs, he opens my bedroom door. My brother and I are both just sleeping. We had like a little mini DVD player thing on to watch movies, because again, we didn't like when it was quiet at night, because that's when you hear things. So he takes one of my boxes of stuff that was packed up for the move. He puts it in front of the door, and he goes back downstairs. The second that he is off the stairs and back on the ground floor, my door slams shut again. He goes right back upstairs, opens my door. My brother and I are still sound asleep, and the box of stuff that he put in front of the door is on the opposite side of the room, spilled over. So he's really freaked out now. He calls my mom. He's like, "When are you coming home? Like, this is what's going on. I'm scared." And I don't think he actually told us about it until later. And to this day, I mean, this was like, gosh, I don't even know, like almost like 15, 16 years ago, maybe. And my brother doesn't remember anything. Like, anytime I bring it up, we talk about the creepy things that happen. Like, my dad remembers, my mom remembers, my brother's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." It's like he completely blocked it out. But I think what sounds unbelievable, like when I talk to people about this, is like, I was young, my brother was young. They're like, maybe it was your imagination, maybe you were like processing trauma and, you know, whatever. But what makes me question it now is like, my brother saw my face, my dad heard my voice, and the more I learn about different supernatural things, the more it freaks me out because of, you know, mimics. And yeah, so it just freaks me out. Once we moved out of the house, nothing happened at our new house. Nothing's really happened actually to any of us since then. The house I live in now, sometimes I think I see stuff out of the corner of my eye. I might see shadows move around, but nothing that makes me feel unsafe. Nothing that seems to have like a negative presence, so I don't really think anything of it. But yeah, that, to this day, anytime I think about that house, it gives me chills. And I don't know. I think I try to talk about it to people I trust, but people kind of look at me like I'm crazy. So I'm intrigued to see what you guys think about it.